Hi folks, I'm Andy Abbas with Data Agility Group. Now we're on to the third topic. We've already talked about the assessment phase, the design phase, and now we're into the implementation phase. This is where the rubber meets the road. We are going to discuss two key areas that are going to be critical in any data center migration. One is the logical piece, the other one is the physical piece. The logical piece is important because that's where we actually move the data in the applications. The physical piece is where we move the hardware from one location to the other. So let's look at the logical piece first. What's required in the implementation? Well, one is we've already decided how we're going to move the data. We've decided what tools we're going to use, and we've decided what methodologies we're going to use to migrate that data that we're looking to transfer. Now in that, you may have tools that need to be deployed. What does that mean? Infrastructure requirements. It means that you need to get your source environment and your target environment ready for those tools to be accepted. It may be servers that you deploy out there, it may be temporary storage that you deploy out there. So it's very critical to do that. You also are going to implement any tools that need to be applied to the host themselves. What if you're installing an agent on doing a host-based migration? Well, when you're doing that, it requires you potentially to maybe require to do a reboot. If that's the case, you need to plan that out. That's an implementation step. How are you going to replicate the data? Are you going to be using swing storage, as we discussed in previous assessment phase and as well as the design phase? Or are you going to be doing it over the wire? So a lot of these things will come into play in quite detail. Are you going to quiesce your environment, meaning shut it down so that you can have a clean image for testing at the target before you cut over? Or are you just going to get a crash consistent image when you're replicating to the target? A lot of these things will determine what type of implementation steps you need to take. Now, let's look at the physical aspect of it. The physical aspect is pretty straightforward. You need to figure out what you're going to move and how you're going to move it. We've already made a determination on what your waves are going to look like, what hardware is going to move in your different wave groups. You need to go on site, you need to label that. You need to document everything to the T of exactly how things are going to move. Which movers are you going to use? Are you going to be, what kind of insurance are you going to be using? Does it need to be climate controlled? A lot of these things, how long is it going to take for the transition? Do you have your target environment already prepped? If you're moving hardware from your source location to the target location, you want to make sure that your target environment has all the cabling done before your transition day. Because of course, during your cutover time, you want to be able to quickly unrack, pack, ship, re-rack, and re-cable. You don't want to be running cable during that time. So a lot of these things are going to be done prior to the cutover, and that's all during the implementation phase of this project. I hope this was helpful to you. There are quite a few more things that go into the logical and the physical, but I just wanted to give you a very high-level view of that, of what's involved during the implementation process.